So here we are again in the van. Why not make the use and the most of the time I'm losing it in roadworks? But okay, so here we go. After my last video I done where we were talking about geez, I can't remember. Oh yeah, the lone wolf, weren't we? And a lot of community slipped into that one, and a little smattering of location slipped into that one as well. So we're going to talk a little bit more about location. So before I get going with location, I wonder how many times I'm going to say that in this video. We're just going to talk about a little study that FEMA done. Now FEMA is the American Emergency Response Bureau or something like that. That's not exactly what it's called, but that's what it basically boils down to. The Americans like the word bureau. But anyway, getting back to it, they done a study about what would happen if the power went out nationwide in their little country of America, and they came up with this chilling statistic. 90 to 95% of the population would be dead in a year. Now, this isn't because there's a war going on. It weren't a war knocked the power out. It isn't because local groups and militia go round and psychotically kill the bulk of the population. This is for the simple fact that most people are not prepared for this shit. So, let's just talk about it for a little while. We're going to crunch a few numbers here. I've done a little bit of stuff. My fucking word. I've done a little bit of study for one of my videos. I've done a little bit of study this morning before getting in the car. Yes, this video is kind of planned. So, we were talking, or we're not talking, we weren't talking, but we talked about 90 to 95%. So I'm going to go on the generous side of this, or the stingy side of this. It depends how you look at it. And we're going to go 95%, because that was the number I used when I was crunching my numbers. Okay, of the population is going to die within a year. So just think about your local town, your local city, wherever you happen to live, and just quite simply Google population of wherever, and it will tell you a rough population. Now don't think for 1 minute this is going to be exactly the right numbers. Okay, during the summer or the winter, depending on where your location is, you might be inundated with tourists and holiday makers. Okay, if you live up in the mountains and you have a ski resort nearby, then yeah. If you live in a holiday destination and it's the summertime, then that population will probably go up. But it's an average. It's a good working point. Now I done my little town I live in, and I rounded down. Yeah, 12,000 people live in my little town. Now 95% of 12,000 people, yeah, wipe them out, and that left about, I don't know, 800, I think, something like that. You can do the maths. You've got a calculator on your phone, which you are probably watching me on now, so you can do that. But yeah, so we have about 800. So after a year, that would be 800 people still living in my town. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to think about that 5% of people for a second. Now, this number, this 95%, most of which are going to die because they were unprepared, means that this 5% is an indication of those who are prepared. Okay, and you're watching a prepping video. This percentage now includes you. Okay, so let's just say, for argument's sake, 50% of that remainder, so 400 of that 800 who survived in my little town, yeah, are preppers. They've got food, they've got water, they've got filters to filter out water, they've got solar backup energy power source, they've got this, they've got that, they've prepared. Okay, but that's still leaving 400 people. Now these 400 people are made up with the people who just by dumb luck survived it all. Now it's not all that, because certain percentage of that 400 would be government officials who have probably been pre-warned somehow, yeah, that the event might be happening, whatever event it is, what knocked out the power, be it an EMP, be it a solar flare, okay, and they may have gone to their backup locations. Part of their, I don't know, responsibilities for working in the governmental system is to be there for the people, okay. Thus, in a crisis, they need to be there, and so they probably got places they can go, shelters, okay, hardened against EMPs. I don't know of any, yeah, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't mention it on this video, but they probably got to there. But you've also going to have a percentage of people who were just dumb luck. They've managed to survive. Yeah, these are not. It's not as dumb luck as I'm making it out. These are people who just are natural survivors. Okay, probably a fair chunk of these people are people who just say, "Yeah, well, okay, it is what it is. Let's see what tomorrow brings." Okay, because that's their mentality. Yeah, a lot of those 95% who died, they have the mentality of, oh, the power will be back on in an hour. Oh, the government will come and find us and help us. Oh, this will happen, that will happen. They live in a bit of a dream world. Yeah, the dream world is a fantasy. Let's face it. If it wasn't a fantasy, just think of that dream person you would want to be with. Well, they would be sitting next to you at the moment watching this video, wouldn't they? Because they would enjoy the video just as much as you do. Hopefully you're enjoying this video. So, but there's also a percentage of these people who are going to be criminals. Okay, and why do the criminals survive? Well, because the criminals cover most bases. Yeah, there's probably a group there's probably a criminal prepping group, okay, somewhere out there in your location. It's someone who is a lifelong hardened criminal. They make their living from it, however it is, be it drug dealing, be it burglary, be it intimidation. Yeah, but they're not the lone wolf. Okay, they have a network. Their network is already established well before any event happens. Okay. Sorry, just put you on pause for a second while I had some of my coffee. Okay, so now we've got like a broad spectrum of who's actually in your population. We've got criminals with their network. Obviously, not all of their network survive, but they do it. They network. Yeah, they've recruited new people. While you may have been sitting out the first 3 days in your hardened home, yeah, they were out and about. They were looting. They were finding other looters and then taking them on board. Yeah, building up their network, building up their survival group. And talking about looting, depending on where you live, yeah, your house probably won't be the first thing what gets looted. Okay, it's probably quite low on their list. They probably got places they've got in mind. Yeah, they will be hitting things like jewellery shops. Okay, they will be hitting things like supermarkets, pharmacies, all these places that a lot of the prepping videos tell you, yeah, try to avoid them. But why? Well, because the hardened criminals are going to be there. Yeah? I live in England. We don't have guns over here. Well, we do have guns, but we're not allowed to own our own guns. We can't just walk around with them on us like you can in America or in other countries in the world. So yeah, we don't often think of gun crime. We think of knife crime. It's so much easier. You just pop into your mum's kitchen, put out a bread knife, there you go, and then you start brandishing it around everywhere, or a carving knife or whatever, a hatchet. But is it a hatchet? You know what? Meat cleaver. That's the one I was thinking of. Hatchet. That's an axe. Why is there an axe? Why does your mum have an axe in her kitchen? But anyway, so yeah, we don't think about gun crimes, but they are out there, and the people who have them are armed forces. Okay, the armed police and armed response. Yeah, fair enough. But why do these two need them? Well, because of the criminals. They have firearms as well. So it is good practice. Don't go out to the pharmacy unless you absolutely have to. Yeah, and then the chances are still don't do it, because it is literally a trap. If I'd done editing, if I'd done a lot of editing on my videos, I would literally have General Agpar popping up going, "It's a trap!" But anyway, there, and even if the criminals aren't actually there present while you decide you want to go and pick up some paracetamol, there's someone watching it. Okay, one of their network is watching it, and they'll go, "Oh, a survivor. Oh, let's go and follow him, her, whoever, back to where they are," and then that's just tagged your house. So staying in is a good thing, but you have to stay, I don't know, up to date with current news. And this is where most of the prepping channels will say, get a wind up radio, use a CB, this, that and the other. I don't care how you keep in touch with up to date current news. You can have a string of baked bean tins on the end, going to various different neighbours across the road, and you can make your own network of baked bean tin phones. Okay, but anyway, getting back to the situation. So we have this population, the bulk of which, probably maybe 1% of the survivors, is probably somehow criminally linked. 2.5% is probably like preppers, and the rest is made up from the people who were just born survivors, natural survivors, people who are quick thinking on their feet, things like that. Yeah, you see him in all the different shows. It's like Glenn, for example. He's just quick on his feet, quick thinking about things. Yeah, he survived it all. So, well, he survived it all until he met Lucia. Oh, sorry, have I just ruined The Walking Dead for you? Never mind. Anyway, so we got to think locations. 800 people after a year will be surviving in my city or my town I live in. Now, obviously, there's horses for courses and things. Prep to where you live. Yeah, watch prepping videos of people who live in the same areas of where you live. Yeah, it's all well and good. I watch lots of American preppers, and they talk about this, they talk about that, and yeah, you can pick up a lot of things. One of the things they say is get out into the rural areas. Yeah, okay, that's because they have thousands of miles between cities. Okay, in some cases, and in some cases they just have thousands of miles of wilderness between those two cities, with a smattering of houses here and there. That's fantastic. Get out there, make the most of it. Now, I live in England, Britain, Europe. Yeah, I'm lucky if I can get 1,000 miles between two coasts. So, let alone towns and cities. So, have a look at your location. Look at your biggest population area. This is normally some sort of city. In my particular case, when I googled the numbers, it was anywhere between 120,000. If you included all the suburbs, it was nearly up to 250,000 people. So I took a nice medium of that, and I went 175,000. And I crunched the maths on that. Yeah, killed off 95% of that population. Got left with about 8,700. Now, putting into my figures there, 8,700. We can throw 700 of them away because they're probably governmental workers and they're in their doomsday bunkers. So there's 8,000. Let's just round it down to 8,000 people in my biggest city. Now, my biggest city is only about, at a push, 20 miles away from where I live, in my little city. Yeah. So worst case scenario, year in, food's run out. Yeah. 8,000 people start to march out of my local city and start to look for new food, new resources. Now, obviously, 8,000 people won't be heading straight towards your town, yeah, at one time to start with. But if they come along and they find a little community of 800 people, let's just say that you've managed to encourage the government workers out of their doomsday bunkers. You've managed to get the local criminals on your side as well, and you're now using them as a police force / army, and all that. You've got a mass population of about 800, and again, it might be less, it might be more. Okay, not all of these figures come equal. They're just averages, guesstimates, if you will. But if they find this nice prospering village and their little group of 8,000 is starving, and let's face it, it won't be a group of 8,000, it might be a group of 1,000. The probably biggest end there. You'll probably have like lots of little groups. Some of them will band up, some of them are friendly with each other, some of them hate each other, and so on. And they will come out. Yeah, can your little group of 800 actually beat them? Probably not. And we're talking 16 miles, and yeah, we've took blackouts, we've took DMPs and things. Maybe cars ain't working anymore. Cycles are. Yeah, doesn't matter how many EMPs a cycle gets hit with, it's still going to work. The lights might not work. You don't need them during the day. Yeah, your little fancy speedo monitor to tell you how fast you're going, that might not work, but you don't need to know that either. But as a general rule of thumb, we've all been stuck behind cyclists on their Sunday little ride, ambling along, not really trying, and you're getting frustrated that you're sitting behind them at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Okay, just get that. My local town, or my local city, is about 16 miles away from me. In England's case, that is literally an hour's travel. Yeah, 2 at a push. Okay, even if they're walking, and let's just say, oh, they're loaded down with gear and things, they're improvised weapons and everything else they've got, then let's be generous to them and say they're going to be walking at 2.5 miles per hour. Okay, well that's like, well, let's just say 2 miles per hour. That makes it easier for the maths. That's like 8 hours walk. That's a day's march. Okay, so one day you go to bed and they're not there, and the next day you wake up in the morning and they've turned up during the night. They're there. It's like that. Now obviously in America you've got bigger spaces, you've got more of it. It's going to be a lot harder for you. Isolation and all that. That's fantastic. In England, not so much. We do have places with maybe 10-15 miles away from anywhere. But literally in England, we literally talking single figures most of the time when it's about mileage away from other populations. I don't know. If you're watching this from America, let me know. Let me know where you, obviously not the exact location, but let me know the rough area where you live and how far away do you live from your local big city. And if you are already in a local big city, yeah, let me know how many miles you have to travel before you actually start to hit what you would call your rural areas. Yeah, I live in a town. I literally can walk about two minutes and I'm into a rural area. Okay, fields and farmhouses, which you can sort of just about see from one farmhouse to another. That's it. You some of your farms are as big as my bloody country. But anyway, that's it. So we're talking the location, and we're talking about the populations of those locations, and just doing research on your area. Okay, I'm not going to tell you about living down in a valley and how it's going to suffer from flooding, or living in a mountain and how it's going to suffer from snow. To be fair, you are just as smart as I am. You can work these shit out yourself. Okay, if you live in that area, you know you get snow. If you've been living in that area for a long time, you know every 10 to 15 years you get really bad snow. Sometimes you're trapped in for weeks. It's probably what actually started you off as a prepper, because you were getting prepared for these snowstorms that will come. So I'm not actually going to talk like exact locations, but it's just generally talking about thinking about your location, thinking about how many people are going to be there after 12 months. Okay, on an event like a blackout. Obviously, there are different events. I mean, like an asteroid could come and land in the middle of America and create havoc worldwide. Yeah. At some point, chances are the power will go out in your area. And maybe only for a little while, maybe for a long time. But it will happen. And when it does happen, people will die. Okay? Even in our wonderful, wonderful modern age of technology, if you feel that way about technology, I personally don't. I find it's like money. It's a necessary evil which you have to deal with these days. But let's just say, as I said, for argument's sake, yeah, you have a power cut now. In fact, I don't even have to say for argument's sake, and I don't even have to say let's theorise about this. Yeah, just think of the ice storms which Texas had. It's a state in America doesn't really experience really bad winters, really bad snows, because it's like down near the tropics. It's a southern state in America, and yeah, they had this really bad weather belt coming. It froze most of their state up. I don't know the exact figures, I don't know the exact numbers, I don't live there. It was a passing interest when it happened. It's like most preppers tend to keep an eye on these sort of things. So people died. Yeah, people died in their beds of hypothermia. People died in their beds of carbon monoxide poisoning. Okay, people literally froze in their cars. A lot of these people died because they were ill-advised and underprepared. Okay, they thought, oh yeah, I will just leave. I'll just leave this gas heater burning. Oh yeah, I'll just close the windows. I'm sure it won't kill me that quick. Now, if you're having any form of open flame in your house for any reason, make sure the ventilation is good. Okay, yeah, crack a window in the room with the flame. Ideally, what you need is like other things, maybe like a dedicated room that has a window open fully, where you can do your cooking, for example, your kitchen, and it has a door where you can close off to keep the heat in, or keep the cold out in, whatever, and then have another room which you warm up with hot water bottles and blankets and the like. A smallish room. Don't concentrate on heating the whole house, just heat the room you're in. Get a tent, pitch a tent up in one corner of your room, yeah, and heat that. Because when you're not in the tent, when you're round and about in your house and things, you're actually keeping yourself warm by moving. But anyway, getting off the topic of location. What I mean by the location is just think about population densities, and then also think of the what is it? It's not the geographicals. It's think about what makes up the population. For instance, where I live is classed as a farming town. Okay, there are farmers around, and the chances are these farmers will probably survive. Let's face it, they've got food, they've got water. They may or may not have the savvy to filter the water. Yeah, and when you think, well, why do farms have water? Well, because they got to water their crops. They don't just turn on the tap and water their crops with the tap. Trust me, because well, that would cost them a shitload of money, wouldn't it? They invest in things like underground storage tanks. They invest in things like above ground reservoirs. They're not huge can't say the word reservoirs. They're just smallish ones, enough to water their crops throughout the season. Okay, there's normally a fallback because they're working on the principle that the farmers might not admit this, but they are preppers by default because they work in advance all the time. They're always preparing for what hasn't actually happened yet. Okay, and let's just take a farmer life cycle for a year. Yeah, end of the harvest season, they celebrate, they go down to the pub, they take all their workers out for a big slap up meal. yeah, as a thank you for helping me get everything in. And then the following day, they're all back out there. They're ploughing the fields. They're getting the fields ready for the next crop. They haven't got the next crop. They're getting the fields ready for the next crop. They're putting on fertiliser. They're turning over the soil. They're making sure all the weeds are dead. And then they go and plant the next crop. But they're planting the next crop on what they're hoping the summer will bring them, and the spring will bring them, and in some cases the autumn will bring them, the growing periods. Yeah, that's how they're always working, probably about a season in front. And then it comes springtime and they're out there, they've planted the crops, but the crops are now getting up, so they're doing like pest control. And what I mean by pest control is, I'm not on about they're going around killing the rats, but that's one thing they probably do on their farmyards. They're trying to stop the deer from going on and eating the young shoots. They're making sure that livestock is kept in the fields they're putting, and then you get to summertime. Now summertime, you think, yeah, well, the farmers don't have to do much during summertime. Why? Well, everything's growing. It's just getting on with it. Well, yeah, it is, but they have to make sure that it's got the right water, the right nutrients are in there. So there's like top up of fertilizers going on. There's irrigation systems have to be erected and maintained and the like. So I don't know. I'm drifting off again. But the point is, yeah, research your local area or the area you plan to be in when something like this happens. And don't just research your local area. Okay, if you're going on holiday for a week, research that area as well for the population, the geographical. No, it's not geographical makeup. But you know what I mean. The population makeup. Yeah, is it a rough area? Is it a criminal hotspot? This, that, and the other. Because that'll give you some idea of who you might be up against when you survive it. Okay, and the reason you have to do this wherever you're going and checking these things out is because, well, it's not going to run to your timeline. It's just going to happen. Okay, it's not going to. I mean, if it's a CME induced EMP, yeah, if we get hit by a coronal mass ejection from a sun, a Carrington level event, yeah, it's not going to. The sun ain't going to sit down and go, oh, yeah, I better not fire off yet. Joe Bloggs ain't at his house. Joe Bloggs ain't at his prepping area. No, it's just going to pop off, and then about, I don't know, 16 hours later, wipe out electricity. Okay, so always check out not just your home location, check out all the locations you go to. Do this same little thing. It's quite simple. You just go onto your calculator, you put in the number of the population, and then you put minus 90. Let's say 90. If you feel that it's only going to be 90% of the population, yeah, put in minus 90%. Okay, the little percent mark, hit that, and that will give you the remainder. Okay, the percentage remainder. So it's that simple, and you can do that wherever you go. Google, you do it while you can, because when society starts to collapse, when things go wrong, yeah, a lot of these things won't be there for you. Okay, little hiccup come up there. Yeah, now is the time to get ready for it. Now is the time to get prepared for it. Go out, yeah, into the woods and see if you can make a fire with sticks. See if you can use your ferro rod. Yeah, don't do it on a nice sunny day. Yeah, do it on a wet, grey autumn morning. Okay, and if you think, well, we can't go out into the woods and do that, Simon, because we have these fire preventive watches on. Maybe you live in Nova Scotia in Canada and you're just not allowed in the woods, full stop, otherwise you get a stupid fine, which they then tax you on. Get that, that's fucking well out there. But anyway, so, okay, have a barbecue, but instead of getting your big lighter out and dousing it all in starting fluid or like petrol or whatever you use to get your fire, your barbecue going, yeah, try doing it with sticks. Try doing it with tinder. Yeah, getting your tinder going with a stick or a ferro rod. See, check how easy it is. And the more you practice this, the easier and quicker you'll get with it. There's ways round everything. There always are. Even laws. Okay, criminals do it all the time. They get round things. And I say criminals. Obviously, I am talking about like the hardened of the hardened criminals who make and distribute and sell drugs or people or whatever. But I'm also talking about like the tiny criminals. I think in America you call them like misdemeanors. Okay, your speeding tickets. Let's face it, speeding tickets is probably the most re-offending crime that most people commit. Okay, it's a deterrent. Yeah, the speed limit. Yes, it's the limit. It's the law. That's what some government body at some point in the past placed. Yeah, there is scientific research on why it's that speed and this, that and the other. You don't really care about that. You're running late. Oh, I'm going to do 70. I'm going to do 80. I'm going to do 90. Yeah, because nothing actually happens to you as you break the law. When it happens to you is when you get caught. It's the deterrent of it. It's the fine. It's the losing your license. It's the getting your car crushed. It's the thing what stops the people from actually breaking the law, not the law itself. So there's things that you can work around everything. Okay, so if you're not allowed to start a fire in your local woods, yeah, fine, have a barbecue, but try to start it as if you were starting a fire in your local woods. I'm gonna wrap it up there. It isn't because I'm nearly at site, although I am nearly at site. It's because I've nearly run out of storage on my camera. So instead of it just cutting out halfway through a word, I'm going to say thank you for watching. I hope this has helped you a little bit. If you've already thought about all this stuff, let me know in the comments. Let me know what let me know what you want me to talk about. Because at the end of the day, I just do all this from my brain. I don't do research on it. If I do research, it's just crunching numbers type of research. Yeah, like how many football pitches of field do you need to keep someone alive for a lifetime? That sort of thing. Yeah, using the tools I have at my disposal while I have them at my disposal. If you like this, please feel free, give it the thumbs up. If you're dropping a comment, thank you very much. If you really want to help my little struggling channel out, go and find the hype button, hit the hype button. The more of you do that, the better my channel gets views and things like that. The YouTube algorithm pushes it better for me. If you didn't like this video, that's absolutely fine. Give it the thumbs down. Can you let me know in the comments what you didn't like about it? Okay, maybe you don't like my style. That's absolutely fine. Maybe you don't like the fact that I'm doing it from a van while I'm driving. It's absolutely fine. Let me know. If you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing. Until the next time, just remember, don't be scared, be prepared.